Jackson County recently held a workshop on the integration of non-lethal predation tools and methods into county wolf management strategies. For those of you who couldn't make it, here's an overview, or watch the entire workshop at jacksoncounty.org.
The purpose of this workshop, it's an educational workshop, and that's what, and we're focused on what the role of non-lethal methods in predation management with a focus on wolves. Now, I know as soon as I mention wolves, you know, that there's a lot of opinions, a lot of strong feelings either way about wolves, and I just want to direct people to say that we're not here to discuss whether wolves belong on the landscape. This is a workshop on dealing with the realities of wolves on the landscape, because that decision of whether wolves are going to be on landscape, that's already been made by the state of Oregon, and it's already played out and continues to play out as far as how they should be managed and what have you. But non-lethal is certainly a component of the state's plan to manage wolves, and that's what we're going to focus on today. Last workshop we did have County Commissioner Susan Roberts from Wallowa County. Of course, Wallowa County has had the longest experience of living with wolves and working with Jason and a formal county wolf committee. And so she could do a better job of delivering this information, but I'll say it now and I'll say it at the end. She showed up last workshop because she wants to offer herself up as a resource with all the experience they've had up there. And so this is essentially what her presentation was last year. So what Wallowa County does is they take the money they get from the state and they create what they call their CAF fund. And so it doesn't get intermingled with any other county monies or whatsoever. It's a separate account that they work off of. And the funds go only to wolf expenses. And Jason was absolutely right. When it comes to range riders, they don't want to get in the business of hiring people in all IRS and all tax purposes. The soil and water conservation districts, they contract out for all kinds of things using the funding that they get. So they do that. And then the other thing that they use the funds for is for the bone pile cleanup. And so what the county has done is they've got a contract with their local landfill. And so any day a carcass is delivered, or 20 carcasses, they pay them $20. The landfill gets $20 essentially to dig a hole at the end of the day, cover it up, put other materials on top of it to kind of blend out, you know, any livestock stuff, and so that's how they handle it. So that kind of speaks to, you know, where does most of the money go to? Up in that part of the country where livestock goes out on public lands, it's range riders and the bone pile cleanups. They created a couple of committees to run business, if you will, and they got people that look at how to what rates of compensation for losses and what it takes to substantiate those claims. So, you know, the makeup, you know, you've got rancher types, wildlife advocate types, and the individuals will change from year to year on there, but that kind of gives you an idea of how they put together their administration, if you will, for the committee. So they look at, and you know, pound and age class, and they work on setting the rates, and the rates are adjusted every year based on different class of animals. We've heard this direct loss, but there's also that indirect loss, or the missing livestock kind of component that ranchers can apply for. You know, that state compensation, tax deduction, and also some other USDA programs. Well, this is repetitive of what Jason had, but it has to be documented, and they utilize the ODF and W depredation determinations of depredation investigations. Many times Wildlife Services people are there assisting the ODF and W folks, but ODF and W kind of fills out the paperwork, if you will, and which is useful for the producers to work with the county wolf committees. The other thing that, and maybe it's already been mentioned, is your guard dogs or working dogs. If you're a rancher and it's proven you've lost them to wolves, you can apply for some compensation there. I'll just go through this quickly. Here's the incidents that were documented and reported from Wallowa County on to Jason's shop.
Just the ones highlighted in green. Yeah. Confirmed and probable.
Yep. Depredations associated with packs go up and down. In 2014, wolves weren't getting in so much trouble, and then in recent times, wolves have been getting in trouble again up in Wallowa County. This is that documentation, that form that they've come up with. And there's no reason for county wolf committees to reinvent the wheel. Susan is fine with working with other committees, sharing what they use, and giving them, and explaining why that particular form works for them. The tax deduction after, correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but or anyone with the wolf committees, once the wolf was delisted at the state level, there was no longer a tax credit compensation option.
That's my understanding. That's no longer available.
Right. So we'll go right through that. And then the Farm Service Administration has what they call their LIP program, and that's for compensating people for losses that are attributed to federally protected species, be it eagles under the Eagle Act, or grizzlies, or not in Oregon grizzlies, but in other states grizzlies, or in our case wolves, because they have some federal ESA protection. Not really utilized that much. For one reason, it was easier to work with the state system. I think there's a better compensation rate, and during this workshop we talked about how important it is to find the resources to be able to do the non-lethal methods and to compensate for losses. One of the things that start of the biennium budget here and the governor's recommended budget, which would have created some significant problems here, was the governor's recommended budget completely eliminated the funds that went through ODA to work with wolf committees. And so you had people like Susan Roberts and folks that have been working with that system a long time saying that's going to be a big problem. If you want folks to buy into the state's management plan for wolves, you need to have some resources to make it easier for the resource owners that suffer losses to pay for those non-lethal and to pay for losses. And I guess what I'm picking up on in this as well is those monies are important for leveraging some money from, say, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service as well. So it got turned around, but if that went away, this Farm Service Administration funding, a little tougher to work with, not as good for the producers, likely to create some backlash within the ranching community. And just understand that this is currently available in the 2014 Farm Bill, but what's going to happen come the next farm bill, this might not be in there. So just keep in mind that wolf committees probably want to keep track of what's going on with the wolf compensation funds that the state is making available, because it can have some real rippling effect. This is, you know, they know, they use this form with their producers up there and track their livestock that they put out, where they disperse, and how many they put out, how many they sell, come up with, you know, how many lost. They went through a lot of effort also to collect before wolves. What was their average return rate or average loss when they go and collect their cattle again? And so when they're working in those aqua areas, it's easier to attribute some of the missing livestock to wolf activity, and again help get compensated for the presence of wolves and the likely impacts on their operations. Here's the indirect loss form right here, with that documentation that Jason looks for, and it's something that I'm sure Wallowa County would be, you know, more than happy to share with. Here's the form that they utilize up there, and right here you see a notary republic down there for people to, I guess, attest to these are the animals I'm missing right here. They kind of have actually used a system where they just use a third party within the committee to go out and substantiate the counts when the producer's taken their livestock off the range. And then a little, I guess, lessons learned that Susan wanted to share. You know, much like we said in the beginning of this workshop, because there's a diversity of folks on those wolf committees, again, you leave your attitudes and your biases at the door. You've got a job. You're trying to help the local ranchers deal with the reality of wolves on the landscape, and make the state's wolf plan work as best as possible. Whoever your chairperson is, needs to be essentially a good meeting manager, because everyone's busy these days and you want to keep things on track, and to help Jason out, and to you know, avoid criticism when it comes to putting in claims. You know, make sure you keep good records, and that's one thing they've really worked on. The livestock folks up there and the Wallowa County folks do an excellent job up there.